And then not to mention like the job loss. How many people are going to be losing their jobs with everything that's happening now too?
Yeah, it is terrifying of just how on a razor's edge we are with things. And for so many people to be so unconcerned and not talking about it anymore. Like, oh, it's at 30%. That's nothing. I'm like, what if your taxes went up 30%? What would that do to your budget?
Right.
So like, why do you think small businesses are just gonna like be fine with an extra 30% tax? Like that's, we're all trying to get by the best we can, but there's going to be dominoes that fall. It's just because it is a long logistic manufacturing process. We're not seeing a lot of it yet, but it's coming.
And so how is there a way to get it back? Like, even if it sounds like next year, it doesn't seem to be a way to easily bounce back. It seems like the dip is really strong.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think we're going to see some kind of weird things happening with manufacturing there are a lot of Chinese companies that have their factories in China that are now building factories in other places to get around the import from China thing.
Really?
And so, there's a lot of interest in Vietnam, which obviously that's where a lot of like clothes and stuff comes from. Lots of countries kind of have like specializations like that. But one surprising thing that I think we will see probably shortly, if this trend continues, is on the eastern coast of Africa. The Chinese have been doing a lot of investment in that area, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing factories show up in those types of places. So that's like one of the weird long-term effects of, even though these tariffs are supposed to hurt the Chinese, they're going to find a way around it, just like everyone else does. That's half of our economics of working with people and lobbyists is finding ways around things. But for like long-term, like it's so hard to think long-term of like strategy and what to do with your business, or like make new games. Like I would like to spend my time making new games, but I don't know if that's even worth it, because I don't know if I'll ever get them, because the situation just changes daily to weekly. And how can a rational person try to make rational business decisions in an environment that's completely irrational?
Right.
So that's the reason I lose sleep at night. That's why I keep losing more of my hair over time. It was already pretty fur back, but it's back.
Oh, well, it's looking good. It's it's glossing.
I'm embracing it. I just gave up. But like those are the things that's like, when I talk to other people in my industry, like I'm in a better position than a lot of them, which is part of the reason I'm doing this lawsuit fight, because I can kind of handle this better than others. I can take on the maybe lost costs and little ancillary costs that come up from it. But like, I get a text from a friend in the industry and they're like, I have $100 left. Like I'm going to move in with my parents and hope that maybe I can get a bank loan to cover getting the inventory in, because it's stuck and I can't afford that extra 30%. Yeah, because it's most of the people in this industry are small businesses. I think it's like 80% is like 20 employees or less, but a lot of them are 1 or 2 employees. It's just like me. They just made a game and they try to sell it and get by. And those are the ones that are affected the most. And so like, that's why I needed to join this lawsuit, because like we put in all this work, we put in the sweat, we used our creativity, and to have all that just threatened by an ego show by one man who has never worked an honest day's work in his life or run an honest business in his life, it's incredibly insulting. I built something. I'm not going to have it taken away just because you want to look tough on TV. So I'm going to continue fighting this, because there were some questions when they went down a little bit, like, are you going to quit this? I'm like, absolutely not. Because we can't live in that scenario where I wake up every day and I don't know what's going to happen to my business depending on if the president got enough fiber the next day. Like that's not the way you need to run a society. That's crazy.
You are hilarious, Jordan. So you said something very interesting, and I've been hearing this buzz around on some of the platforms that I've been on, is the surging of Africa as a power player, especially for it to be a whole country. I don't think a lot of people understand like all the natural minerals and resources and what is going on in Africa and how it is strongly and fast becoming a really strong partner, not only for manufacturing, but for some of the other opportunities as well. Tech is really big over there. So just what do you know about that as far as manufacturing? Because that might be an opportunity too for people to start looking at offshoring too.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. I just know that over the past maybe 10 to 5 years that the Chinese have been investing heavily in it, at least in anticipation of that. They knew that their society is eventually going to get to a point where they're going to have a similar issue to ours, where it is going to be too expensive to manufacture there based on the standard of living. So they were looking, I think, proactively at places where they could go and have manufacturing there. Now, we can argue about morality of taking advantage of certain places that are poor, making them do the work, because honestly, the United States has been just as guilty in the types of things. When I talk about this, I don't want to sound like I'm ever advocating that type of thing. I'm simply just stating what I know to be happening. So it's one of those things of, it kind of makes me weird, because when I first started looking into manufacturing, one of the first things I was worried about is I'd like to make it in the United States, but that wasn't feasible because too small of orders. No business here really wanted to do anything with me, or the one or two that didn't have the capability to make most of the components that were needed.
Right.
So then when you go over to a foreign country, the first thing I think of is like, I can't hop on a plane, walk in and see if these people are being treated fairly, that it is a safe environment. I don't have the capacity, the money to do that. I've got to depend on other people's reputations.
Right.
There's a company that in the industry has a very good reputation. There's, I spoke with many people that have worked with them before. Tariffs are just like industry experts, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this company is on the up and up. They're okay to do business with." But now you move that to another country, if they move, their manufacturing to Vietnam or to India, Eastern Africa, then that now becomes that's a whole new scenario. How do I make sure that my games are being made in a fair, safe workspace for those people? Right. That is important to me, but I don't have I can't make my own factory to do that. Right. So I've got to rely on other things. And now if I'm forced to go somewhere else, how do I then not have the people that have that reputation and everything are gone? They're whole new people. It's a new thing. I have nothing to go off of other than a website with some stock photos. How do I then make sure I'm being responsible as a business owner? And I don't know what the answer to that yet is. It's one of those things of, if this happens next year when I have to reorder, I'm going to have to figure out some way to be sure of that.
Well, that's something too that is a great opportunity for people who are into business owners who want to start maybe working with China in Africa to set up manufacturing plants as well. And to be that, what do you call it? Freight forwarders or
freight forwarder. Yep.
That is a fantastic opportunity. I know I've been studying like emerging markets for a minute, and obviously looking at some of the BRIC countries. But one of the things that I was really impressed by is when they looked at the U.S. and the birth rate, the decline in birth rate in the U.S., and the fact that this is an older society. People just aren't having as many kids as they used to. They were saying that Africa's I forgot how economists measure it based on if anyone is under 30, like the number of of the population that's under 30 measures the potential of the country. And the US just simply does not have as many kids and as many people like Gen Z compared to Africa and some of the other countries. And so that is what they look at to determine, like, will we have the labor and the workforce to be able to really do these manufacturing plants? And like we started and said earlier, there just isn't, it's just not here. Like we just don't have, and I don't want to say this like we don't have the talent, because we do have the talent.
Oh, yeah,
we just got to invest in the talent, right?
Yeah. And
that is a completely different model than I think what we're seeing now. And to me, on both sides, because I feel like the Democrat, as far as I'm concerned, I think teachers should be making $100,000 a year. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, easily.
I was a teenager in high school once. Those teachers deserve a pay raise because I was awful.
And it should be highly competitive to be a teacher. And you get the best, you teach the best students, you get people to be critical thinkers, but that just hasn't happened under any administration. And so for us, we have to have the talent pool. I think and then with immigration happening, and I know there are pros and cons on both sides of the immigration debate, but I think that in this country, we really have to look at who we have, because manufacturing requires people who have the skill set to be able to run the equipment, do programming, do tech. Some of that's going to be automated through AI, but you still have to know how to do the programming. And I just think that we have a lot of work to do. So when you look at other countries, like I didn't know that Africa was becoming a strong tech hub to rival the US. Like I was like, oh my God. But this is something that we got to really look at. So China, see where China goes, and that's what we should be looking at as well. So
yeah, like they I'm sure they have spent many hours of research thinking about this stuff, and like there's a reason they're there. They're not just randomly picking a spot. There's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of centralization to Middle East. You can go through it to Europe. Like there's a lot of things that make sense for it. So I want to kind of talk about something you mentioned, not to sound so kind of gloom and doom, but when we're talking about declining birth rates and how that affects manufacturing.
That's a serious issue.
So I think because like I used to think like, oh, who cares? People are having babies, whatever.
Right.
But being in business and just learning more about the way our economy is set up and the way our society is set up for lack of a better term, it's kind of close to a pyramid scheme. It has to keep growing.
Yes.
Because everything that we build and everything else is based on the idea that we're going to make more money in the future. Yes. And to make more money in the future, we need more humans. Now we have a declining birth rate. What happens in that scenario? Well, we have an example. That example was Detroit. So there used to be jobs there. They invested on the idea that it would keep growing, and it quit. And everyone knows what happened to Detroit. It's almost like a meme, sadly.
Yeah, I know.
Times that by everywhere.
Right. By all states, right?
Yeah. So like, and there's a lot of answers to that scenario of like, I know the administration is looking into ways to get people to have more babies. I think that's crazy. It's kind of weird, creepy a little bit, but like we can restructure the way that we think about our society and the way we think about our economy. It has always been, if you're not growing, you're dying. Well, that's a rule we made up, like, and we can unmake that rule. Like we humans have the most ingenuitive people or creatures on the planet, and especially the United States. Like we're so innovative. You're telling me that this is just a rule and we can't figure out an answer to it? Like, no, I call BS.
But that's also tied to the cultural and the social issues too, right? Because, it's like other communities are producing and having 2 and 3 children, right? So it's not that the birth rate isn't growing. It's just that the birth rate isn't growing among the people that you want the birth rate to grow. So
there's that too.
That's the real issue, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be a non-issue if people are moving to other countries like India, like Mexico, and like Africa, right? So They're just going to go somewhere else, right? And then you're going to, so it's just kind of like the obsession with the boogeyman of the stuff that people are I call it the boogeyman. Like, oh my God, all the people, all the brown, the black, and the gay people are gonna come and get you and take your kids. You know, it's like nobody's gonna take your children, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's like that obsession is what is going to be the undoing of the country, and that is what's most frustrating. And people say, well, what does that have to do with manufacturing? Hello, you need people to manufacture, to work in the plants, to be educated. And there has to be some kind of assistance to the lower income community. Like, as far as I'm concerned, every generation should push up to another economic level. Yep. So if you're low income when you start and when you come into this world, your goal is simply to push up to middle income. If you're middle income, your goal is to push up to upper middle income. And if you're upper middle income, your goal is to push up to high net worth, high income. If we focus on that, like you said, the pyramid approach, we all are winning.
Yeah.
We're all winning. But it's simple, but it's,
But I would add on to that. Like, I like that way of thinking, but I also think when you reach that higher level, you have a responsibility to reach down and pull up others too.
And that's the thing I would say with that. But if you come from poverty to low income to middle income, I think that naturally happens because within your own family and community, you know that, wow, I came from poverty, so I know what it feels like. So I don't mind giving an extra 3% on my taxes because I came from that, right? So like me, I came from very low, poverty, single mom. I've started my own business, successful, hired and trained over 100 employees, made $25 million. Real estate, I'm successful. But there was a time when we had nothing. Literally, we had to recycle my kids' shoes. I'm dating myself in my age. And I went to public school. Yeah. But because of that, I'm impassioned about access and equity, not just it being racial access and equity, but equity and access for low-income communities. And I know that how I got here is through education. I applied myself. I was smart. I was dedicated. My passion is to make sure that happens with everyone, because if you give everyone an equal footing, they will succeed. It's a no-brainer. But when you try to subject people and keep them under your thumb, it doesn't happen. But you only end up hurting yourself. That's the thing, because you need to have people to work for you. Right?
Yeah, you need people to work for you. You need people to buy your products. You need people to have the babies that are going to be buying your products 20 years from now. Right. Like, this is all connected. And this entire idea that one kind of class of people thinks they can just hoard kind of everything. Yeah. And there's not going to be a long-term effect. Like, they should know better. Like, that they're supposed to be the smartest people in the world. How can they not see this? But every single person on the ground dealing with the issues they've created see it, and they don't.
Like, the economists see it too. That's why I've been tracking a lot of economists, and one economist, I'll share his information and I'll add this to the podcast, but he said he's leaving in a year and a half. He's just trying to figure out where he's going to go.
Like, leaving the country?
Leaving the country. Yeah. There are a lot of people leaving the country. And that's kind of like the underwritten rules. Some people are going to New Zealand. People are trying to figure out what they're going to flee to. I'm not at that point. I just feel like we need to work here to have a better country here. Yep. And I want to see what happens in the next 5 years. I want to see if America, Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals have the backbone to really fight for what they believe in, because people like you and I will probably have the resources to leave and relocate somewhere else.
If I had to, I could pull it off.
Exactly. It's
going to be tough, but
it's going to be tough, but you can make it work, right? Yeah. If you have a 5-year start. But what we need to decide now is how bad are we going to fight for the country we want? Because there are some times where I feel like I think you can be both. You can come together and have reasonable, it's interesting. Like, so I did some research on education, and if we pay all the teachers $100,000, like all the teachers we have in the U.S. now, all the teachers we have, like if we gave them $100,000 salary, do you know we could get out of this national debt within? We could get out of the national debt in 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
that blew me away. So I was like, you have the answer, but if you educate,
they have all the answers.
They have all the answers.
It's just not the answers they want.
That's good. That's not the answer they want.
Yep.
So, oh my God, this is so awesome. Do you have anything else you want to share, Jordan, before we wrap up?
I do want to briefly talk about something that's called the Small Business Liberation Act.
Okay.
So this is a bill that has been recently introduced in the Senate, and they just now, I think it was earlier this week, introduced matching language in the House. And what this bill would do is basically exempt small businesses from the Trump tariff stuff. So it's got some momentum. I went to Washington, D.C. to actually lobby, and that's how we heard about this. And it has some bipartisan support, like Republicans that, normally kind of whatever Trump wants he gets are like, okay, well, this one we can kind of be more okay with because it's helping small businesses and finding kind of a way out, an off ramp for these people that kind of got stuck in this mess. So if you want to learn about it, just search Small Business Liberation Act, call your senators, call your representatives. I know everyone says that. Trust me, I've worked in politics. Fill up that voicemail box. They're going to know.
It works.
It works. Especially letters. Something physical that they have to hold in their hand, knowing that someone took the time to write them, has a much bigger impact than you think. It's much better than email. Emails just get sorted and deleted. But physical mail, they got to open it and read it to determine whether it's junk or not. So reach out to them. It sounds corny. I always used to kind of cringe, but when we were in this situation and then you've actually seen how much that can affect it, take 5 minutes, do those types of things. It does make a difference.